Hey, Jeffrey Pepper Rogers here with Guitar Sessions, and that, if you're familiar with the music of the Grateful Dead, you probably recognize as a bit of Jerry Garcia-esque soloing in Scarlet Begonias. And Jerry was, of course, one of the greatest improvisers in rock guitar ever, and not because of his speed or chops, but his imagination as an improviser. And to learn about his lead guitar style, of course, you can transcribe and study and pick apart his solos note for note and try to learn them that way from recordings. But to me, a more interesting and fruitful quest is trying to get inside the approach and really ask, in a given situation, in a given song, what would Jerry do? So that is the topic for this session here. And I'm going to talk about 4 keys to his soloing style. And I'm going to use the example of Scarlet Begonias. And then at the end, I'm going to also share how I applied these ideas to playing a solo in one of my songs, asking, what would Jerry do? As with all the episodes in this series, you can find the tab and the charts for what I'm doing over on Patreon. So let's dig in. Secret number 1 of unlocking Jerry's lead style is simply play the melody. He was a much more melodic player than most guitar soloists, really in a way singing with the guitar as opposed to playing licks and riffs in the way that a lot of guitarists do. And that's such an important quality of his solos because it makes the solo lock in with the specific song by reproducing, echoing the melody. And to me, there's just nobody better in the world of rock guitar at spinning out variations on a melody than he was. So the first thing that I would say that you should do in a given song is to learn the melody in multiple octaves and positions on guitar, everywhere you can find it on the fingerboard. And you can even sing along with the guitar, so you really lock into the vocal type phrasing. So let's just try that with Scarlet Begonias here. And the first, I'm just going to take a little piece of the verse here, and the first note of the melody is going to be an E. So the first place I'm going to start it is right here, 2nd string, 5th fret. As I was walking round Grosvenor Square. So I'm starting right on the 2nd string there. Walking round Grosvenor Square. Again. Down to the air. Next phrase. From the other. I'm going down to the 3rd string there. The other direction, she was calling my eye. It could be an illusion, but I might as well try. Might as well try. So there's one place to play that melody, starting on that 2nd string. But now let's find it at a different spot, starting here at the 9th fret on the 3rd string. So there is another place to play the melody starting here, but let's try a few more. Let's try it down low. One thing that Jerry did a lot is play melodies in a low register on the guitar. So if I start on that E note on the 4th string, 2nd fret, So there it is down low. And finally, let's do it up high. So there's an E note up here, 12th fret on the first string. So if I play it here, so there it is, up high on the neck. And so you can take that that kind of just statement of the straight melody, and you can make it sound a little bit more vocal-like by using slides and bends. So if I were to play it up here at the 12th fret but add some of that kind of thing, I could go. So there, I've just made the phrasing a little bit more vocal-like, and it starts to sound like a solo. And really, for a guitar solo, playing just the straight melody without even embellishing it much can be just a great way to reinforce the song and a very satisfying way to improvise. So there's plenty of times in Jerry's playing you'll hear him just state that melody in a pretty unadorned sort of a fashion. So one of the things, though, that you want to pay attention to as you're learning the melody, so you want to find it in all those places on the guitar, but also not just where the notes are, but also where the pauses are, to pay attention to the phrasing of it. In vocals, you sing a line and then you stop and you catch your breath and then you play another line. It's not a continuous thing like you can do with your fingers, but if you want to play in a more singing style, in a more melodic style, you want to incorporate that vocal-like phrasing. So you can learn from that by learning to play the melody on the guitar. So over on Patreon, you can find those different statements of the melody that I just played in the different positions. So once you've got the melody to a song under your fingers, secret number 2 to what would Jerry do is to create variations on the melody. So, take those phrases and just change them around a little bit, embellish them a little bit. But still think about following a similar phrase length so that it still locks in with that melody in that way. It's almost like just making sure you take a breath on your guitar too. So that you could look at the little bit of soloing that I did at the very top of this lesson in this light. It started off something like this. There's an opening phrase that's not exactly the melody, but it's definitely a variation on it. You can keep going through and just do a similar type of thing. There's another pause there for the phrasing. And continuing like that. The next really important secret to what would Jerry do, a step that you can take in soloing, is to use the chord shapes. So Jerry often built solos around chord shapes, outlining chords, using chord tones up and down the neck. it was a way that the solos would stay locked into the chord progressions and the changes in the harmony, rather than sort of using one scale on top of everything. It was always following not just the melody, but also the chords. So one of the ways that you can do that is using the caged system and find the chord shapes up and down the neck. There's another lesson in this series about the solo from Touch of Grey, which also digs into this approach. But I want to look at how it plays out specifically in this little piece of Scarlet Begonias. So one of the things you can do here with this song is to find where the chords are at a bunch of different places on the neck. So that little piece of Scarlet Begonias that I'm using here has got 3 chords in it. So B is our 1 chord, and then we've got an E, which is our 4 chord, and we've got an A, which is our flat 7 chord. So we're in the key of B, so in that little piece of the verse, the chords are like this. All right, so now let me try to improvise based on those shapes. So this time B, E, and A right down here. I'm going to be playing around in that area on the neck, landing on notes in those chord shapes, and also maybe walking up to them or walking down to the chord tones there, kind of using the shapes as my guide to build the solo, and changing as I go so that the solo reflects the harmony. So let me give this a shot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's find these same chords and up the neck in other positions. So our next stop is at the 4th and 5th frets. So if I were to play a G, an open G shape, again using the cage system here, if I think of this as an open G, as a G shape moved up to the 4th fret, that's going to sound as a B. So there's my 1 chord, and then a C shape at the 4th fret is going to give me, it's going to sound as an E, and that's my 4 chord. And then my flat 7 chord, that A, is going to be here, which, so by the cage system you could think of this as an E shape moved up to the 5th fret. So let's just play through that progression. I'm going to use those 3 shapes to play the same section of the verse. I'm just going to kick it off from the B. So once again, I'm still sounding as that B, E, and A, but I'm using essentially G, C, and E shapes up here at the 4th and 5th frets, and that is orienting me toward the chord shapes around here. So if I were soloing around in this area, and I know where those chord shapes are, that gives me something to think about landing on chord tones I can use in the solo. So another improvisation up around these shapes. So this one, and this one for my 1/4 and flat 7. Let's move further up the neck, up to the 7th fret. So up here, an E shape at the 7th fret is going to give me a B. So there's our 1. So an A shape is going to sound as an E. So there's my 4. And then this is, I'm just playing a piece of what would be like an open D shape, but moved up to the 7th fret. That's going to sound as an A, so there's my flat 7. So to run through the chord progression in this position, those same chords, but all played around the 7th fret. Again, orienting me to the chord progression up here. A little improvisation around these shapes here. 7th fret. 1, 2, 3. So let's just keep moving up the neck and go up to the 9th fret. So up here, a D shape moved up to the 9th fret is going to be sounding as a B here. So, and from my other chords, so a G shape, again at the 9th fret, is going to sound as an E. So there's my 4, my 1, and my 4. And then a C shape here is going to sound as an A. So there's my flat 7. So same progression, but using shapes based at the 9th fret. Here we go. A whole other way to orient to the chord progression up here, again, which I can use in the solo. And by the way, all this stuff is incredibly valuable to know for playing rhythm too. Bob Weir certainly is using a lot of these kinds of chord shapes moved up the neck, partial chords and things. So understanding how you can play the chords in a lot of positions up and down the neck will help you with anything that you do on the guitar, Grateful Dead related or not. Improvisation up around the 9th fret here. This shape, and this one. 1, 2, So one more place I want to play this chord progression, which is up around the 11th and 12th frets. So here, I'm getting up pretty high on my neck here on the acoustic guitar. A little easier to do this on the electric, but I'm now using a C shape at the 11th fret, and that is sounding as a B. So there's my 1. And then an E shape at the 12th fret gives me an E, of course, because it's the same as down here. So there's my 4 chord. And then at the 12th fret, if I play an A shape, of course, that is sounding as an A, as it would if I were playing it down here. But you can hear these. Let's run through the chord progression up here. That position up there, those chord shapes around the 11th and 12th fret are going to give me a lot of up the neck soloing ideas in this song. One more improvisation here around the 11th fret. So this shape, and this. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so there's just some off-the-cuff improvisations based on those shapes. Of course, the fun comes when you start moving freely between positions on the neck, string some things together, string ideas derived from the melody, playing the straight melody with things based on chord shapes. So when you get conversant enough in all this that you can start piecing it together from elements of all this, that's when the soloing really starts to take off. So I'm just going to try one last solo here, moving around the neck a little bit, maybe playing a little bit of the melody and playing off of the chord shapes. And I'm going to use the chord shapes when I'm shifting positions to help me know where to land, and we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to start down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the key number 4 to what would Jerry do in a solo is a little bit harder to quantify, but super important, which is to just be patient. And this I find is really a tremendous thing to think about, and can be tremendously challenging too in a way. When you play a solo, you kind of want to you want to impress, you want to make a statement, and it's really easy to fall into kind of blasting out of the gate and getting right to the fastest thing or the loudest thing or the highest thing that you can play. You got this energy pent up and you're sort of letting it loose. And but you hit that place where you sort of have done what you can do. You've hit that crescendo, and you really have nowhere to go but down from there, which is kind of a letdown in a guitar solo. And one of the things that always amazes me listening to Jerry's playing is the patience, the sort of curious, slow unfolding of ideas. Keeping things in reserve, trying an idea, leaving some space, not going right out as fast as you can, but giving each idea a little time to unfold, and then maybe play around with it a little bit. Now, you don't have to play super long guitar solos to do this, but if you think about your solo as kind of exploring at a more sort of measured pace, and in a way telling a story. You're introducing an idea, then you're varying it a little bit, and you're taking it kind of steps at a time. You'll get closer to that zone that he was able to get in, where he could play an extremely long solo and not feel like he had sort of shown us all his cards right at the beginning and then had nowhere to go. So be patient, take it slow, appreciate the, savor each each idea as it comes, and give it some room. The last thing I want to share is just a guitar solo that I played in a song of my own called Hippie Hair for the First Time, which is a single that I put out. It's a song that chronicles growing my hair out during the pandemic, and also shares some of my own history with the Dead, interviewing Jerry, playing his Wolf guitar on stage. And the song even incorporates a couple of Dead quotes into the track. There's a little tiny piece of He's Gone and Tennessee Jed that is thrown into the lead guitar. But in the guitar solo from that song, I really tried to apply this idea of what would Jerry do. That was kind of where I was going with this song, and I wanted to kind of really pay tribute to his approach in it. And so the things that I did in this solo are that I started and ended with playing the melody directly. And in between, I was really using the cage system. I was using the chord shapes up the neck to kind of orient my solo. I'm going to throw in here a little clip of the video from that song, which is going to include a verse and a chorus just so you can get a sense of the melody before the solo, and then the solo where you can hear me playing the melody and playing off of those chord shapes up the neck and trying to think about what would Jerry do. Well, I was just a toddler at the dawning of the dead, far too young for dropping out. I got no 60s cred. Still, I did meet Jerry and I played his Wolf guitar. Never liked to join a crowd, but I'm feeling strangely proud. I got hippie hair for the first time. Hippie hair, alright. When I sing hippie songs for the first time, I kinda look hard. I'm letting it grow for my art. So, all right, well, I hope that you find these ideas useful for you as you think about improvising in any song, whether it's a Grateful Dead song, one of your own songs, ways that you can sort of learn from Jerry's approach, a way of soloing that really is sounds like a song. It doesn't sound like somebody playing generic riffs or scales over it. It sounds like it comes organically out of the song itself, and that's because so much of it is based on the melody and it's based on the chord progression. So it is very catered to that specific song. Thanks again for watching. I'm Jeffrey Pepper Rogers, and I will catch you next time.